possibilities. The country is a beacon of academic excellence and houses 8 of the top 10 universities globally. In the USA, diversity isn't just a buzzword, it's a way of life. This offers students an invaluable opportunity to engage, learn, and thrive in a multicultural environment. Beyond academics, the USA opens doors to a world of opportunities, with graduates often finding their place in Fortune 500 companies. We know the decision to study abroad is a mix of excitement and apprehension. That's where AECC steps in. We're your compass, guiding you through every step of your journey. From course selection, university application, visa processing, to pre-departure briefings, our end-to-end services are completely free. Ready to chase your American dream? Connect with AECC today, and let's turn your dream into a reality. Fill out the contact form to get started. Embark on an exciting journey in the United States, where you'll uncover stories of dreams and endless possibilities. The country is a beacon of academic excellence and houses 8 of the top 10 universities globally. In the USA, diversity isn't just a buzzword, it's a way of life. This offers students an invaluable opportunity to engage, learn, and thrive in a multicultural environment. Beyond academics, the USA opens doors to a world of opportunities, with graduates often finding their place in Fortune 500 companies. We know the decision to study abroad is a mix of excitement and apprehension. That's where AECC steps in. We're your compass, guiding you through every step of your journey. From course selection, university application, visa processing, to pre-departure briefings, our end-to-end services are completely free. Ready to chase your American dream? Connect with AECC today, and let's turn your dream into a reality. Fill out the contact form to get started. Embark on an exciting journey in the United States, where you'll uncover stories of dreams and endless possibilities. The country is a beacon of academic excellence and houses 8 of the top 10 universities globally. In the USA, diversity isn't just a buzzword, it's a way of life. This offers students an invaluable opportunity to engage, learn, and thrive in a multicultural environment. Beyond academics, the USA opens doors to a world of opportunities, with graduates often finding their place in Fortune 500 companies. We know the decision to study abroad is a mix of excitement and apprehension. That's where AECC steps in. We're your compass, guiding you through every step of your journey. From course selection, university application, visa processing, to pre-departure briefings, our end-to-end services are completely free. Ready to chase your American dream? Connect with AECC today, and let's turn your dream into a reality. Fill out the contact form to get started. Embark on an exciting journey in the United States, where you'll uncover stories of dreams and endless possibilities. The country is a beacon of academic excellence and houses 8 of the top 10 universities globally. In the USA, diversity isn't just a buzzword, it's a way of life. This offers students an invaluable opportunity to engage, learn, and thrive in a multicultural environment. Beyond academics, the USA opens doors to a world of opportunities, with graduates often finding their place in Fortune 500 companies. We know the decision to study abroad is a mix of excitement and apprehension. That's where AECC steps in. We're your compass, guiding you through every step of your journey. From course selection, university application, visa processing, to pre-departure briefings, our end-to-end services are completely free. Ready to chase your American dream? Connect with AECC today, and let's turn your dream into a reality. Fill out the contact form to get started. Embark on an exciting journey in the United States, where you'll uncover stories of dreams and endless possibilities. The country is a beacon of academic excellence and houses 8 of the top 10 universities globally. In the USA, diversity isn't just a buzzword, it's a way of life. This offers students an invaluable opportunity to engage, learn, and thrive in a multicultural environment. Beyond academics, the USA opens doors to a world of opportunities, with graduates often finding their place in Fortune 500 companies. We know the decision to study abroad is a mix of excitement and apprehension. That's where AECC steps in. We're your compass, guiding you through every step of your journey. From course selection, university application, visa processing, to pre-departure briefings, our end-to-end services are completely free. Ready to chase your American dream? Connect with the AECC today, and let's turn your dream into a reality. Fill out the contact form to get started.
Okay, I think we can start now. Before that, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Sinta, the ACC counselor from Surabaya office. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the ACC webinar this evening. This time, we will bring a topic, a comprehensive guide for international students between MBA versus STEM degree in the USA, with our special speaker, Mr. Tyler Nussbaum from King's Education. Before Mr. Tyler present, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box and we will answer all of your questions after this. Without waiting further, I will pass the presentation to Mr. Tyler. Over to you, Tyler.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I think I'm off mute now, right? Good evening, everyone. My name is Tyler. I work for King's Education. So first of all, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. And thank you to AECC for organizing the event. It's very much appreciated. I'm going to talk to you tonight a little bit about MBA programs, a little bit about STEM programs, what those mean, some of the benefits of studying both MBA as well as STEM programs. And give you a little bit of information about a particular MBA program that I work with in the US. So I'm going to talk first for probably a little over 30 minutes, probably closer to about 40 minutes. And then at the end, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Although, as we're going through, if you have any questions, you're welcome to put the questions in as we're going through. You don't have to wait until the end to ask your questions. So in a moment, I'm going to share my screen and show you a presentation. If you see something on the screen that you want to ask a question about, or if I say something that's not clear and you want to ask a question, you don't have to wait until the end. It's perfectly fine. Just let me know as soon as you have a question. Just go ahead and put it in the chat. So I will go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen quickly. This should work because we tried it already, so hopefully it's still working. Cinta, can you please just confirm again that you can see my screen and everything's okay?
Yes, all good.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. All right. So what we're going to talk about tonight, MBA versus STEM degree. Honestly, the versus thing is a little bit of a trick, and you'll understand what I mean by that in a moment. But I am going to talk about the MBA in general, what they mean, what an MBA typically looks like, and then I'm going to talk about STEM and then also some work opportunities and things like that. So I'll go ahead and get started. Cinta, if you could just keep an eye on the chat, because when I'm sharing my screen, I won't be able to see if someone types something in. So if they do, just stop me, let me know what the question is or whatever's happening, and I'll be happy to answer that as we're going through.
Yep, sure. Thank you.
Okay, so as a starting point, of course, we need to talk about what is an MBA. I know many of you have probably heard of MBA before. It's a very popular degree for students, not just international students, but also students in the US, other places. It's a very, very popular degree. But when I'm talking with students or parents, sometimes I find that there's some things that they don't understand or they might have some misunderstanding. So I just want to make sure that we all understand what MBA is and what it means and all that. So of course, it is Master of Business Administration. I'm sure many of you know that, but that's what it stands for. So it is a master's degree in the US. It's usually 1.5 to 3 years, and you can see I wrote full-time. The reason why I said full-time is because actually a lot of MBA students in the US, if they're US students, are not taking full-time classes. A lot of MBA students are part-time students, and if they're part-time, it can take them 5 or 6 years, sometimes even more, to finish their degree. Now, as an international student, you are not allowed to take a part-time degree because of your visa rules. You have to take full-time classes. So usually MBA full-time is 1.5 to 3 years. It's probably usually around 2 years is the average time. Although there's one interesting thing about the US, it doesn't matter if it's a master's degree or undergraduate or even PhD, we actually don't care about the years. That's not what determines how fast you graduate. It's actually your credit hours. And when you have enough credits, then you graduate. So usually that happens in 1.5 to 3 years, but you can go a little faster, you can go a little slower, just depends on you and the program. But once you have enough credits, you graduate. Within an MBA program, there's almost always different concentrations you can choose from. And this is one of the things that often gets people confused. So if you do an MBA with a concentration, I'll just take the first one, supply chain management, your degree is still Master of Business Administration. Your certificate, when you graduate, is still going to say Master of Business Administration. Usually, on your graduation certificate and your other documents, there's nothing that says supply chain management or human resource management. What the concentration means during your Master of Business Administration, if you choose supply chain management, you will study more supply chain management than a student who does not choose that or who chooses a different concentration. A concentration allows you to choose an area that you are interested in so you can study more classes. So like I said, if that's supply chain management, if the university that you go to has an MBA and one of the options is supply chain management, you can study a bit of logistics and project management, inventory, those types of things related to supply chain management during your MBA program. If you choose human resource management, then obviously you'll have human resource courses, or accounting, finance. There's many, many different concentrations at many different universities. So this allows you to get kind of a specialization or a concentration in that area, but your degree will still be an MBA, will still be Master of Business Administration. This doesn't take any extra time. So again, it's within the same amount of credit hours that you will study. It's just choosing different classes. So students will choose different concentrations based on what they're interested in and what's available at the university. Typically, an MBA program is not a STEM degree. STEM is what we're going to talk about that next. You may or may not know what that means, but we're going to talk about that in a moment. But in general, MBA degrees are not typically STEM degrees. So just keep that in mind, and we'll talk about what a STEM degree is in just a moment. Historically, work experience is required for MBAs. So this is another thing that there's a lot of confusion about when I'm talking to students. So historically, MBAs did typically require work experience. How much depends on the MBA program. Some of them are 5 years, some of them are 3 years, some of them are only 2 years. So it really depends. But in the very, very early days of MBA, a lot of MBA programs, almost all of them, required work experience. That was what made MBA different from some other business degrees. And that was considered an advantage. If you have students in a classroom who graduated 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and they've been out working full time, they have a lot of knowledge and work experience from the real world that they can share during their MBA program. So originally, work experience was actually considered a big benefit of MBA programs. Now, MBAs got very, very popular, and a lot of students wanted to study MBAs, and some of them did not have much work experience. Some of them had no work experience. They just graduated. So slowly over time, this has changed. So now there are a lot of MBAs that do not require work experience. It doesn't mean that they're not good or that no work experience is better or work experience. It's not a good bad, but it is a little bit different. However, even in MBA programs that don't require work experience, usually many of the people in the class still have some work experience. A lot of them are people who've already graduated, they're working, and now they're coming back to get their MBA degree. So even if it's not required, you will still usually have quite a few students who have work experience in the class. A lot of MBA students, as I mentioned a moment ago, a lot of them are working and are part-time students. So a lot of MBA programs, many of the classes and sometimes all of the classes are only in the evening. They're at night. And that's because a lot of the students are working during the day. So they're taking classes only in the evening. One thing you have to understand about graduate degrees in the US, you do not spend a lot of time in the classroom having classes. You do have to spend a lot of time studying, preparing for your classes, and you will probably have a lot of group work and group projects that you need to do with other people in your class and things that you'll be working on, but you don't have a lot of time just sitting in class listening to your professors. So for a master's program in the US, usually you're only in class about 10 hours per week. So if it's evening classes, you might only have class 2 or 3 nights per week, and that's it. That's all you're in class. But other times, you still need to be meeting with your classmates, working on assignments, studying, doing reading assignments. You may have capstone projects or other things where you're actually working with companies on certain projects and things like that as part of your MBA program. So you're very, very busy. So don't think that you're not busy, but the time that you spend, and this is any master's program, whether it's MBA or engineering or anything, the time that you spend in a classroom for a master's degree in the US is actually quite small. It's usually only about 10 hours per week. Okay. Is MBA the only option for a graduate degree in business in the US? Absolutely not. There are many types of Masters of Business degrees. MBA is a very popular one, especially in the last, 15 or 20 years. But there's Master of Finance, there's Master of Marketing, there's Master of Management, there's Master of Accounting. There's all kinds of different master's degrees. So MBA is not the only option for a graduate degree in business. Just depends on the university. It also depends on the student. And one of the reasons I like to talk about MBA is because I know a lot of students have been hearing MBA for many, many years, and they think that either it's the only option or it's the best option. MBA is definitely a very good degree. I have an MBA myself. I'm very happy that I have it. I have a lot of friends who've gotten MBAs. So there's nothing wrong with MBA, but it really depends on what you're interested in. So an MBA is ideally for a student who wants to start their own business or run their own business. I meet a lot of international students who parents have a business, whether it's Indonesia or Vietnam or wherever they're from. They have a business back home. They want to go to the US. They want to study for a while, get some knowledge, and then come back and run their family business. MBA is a great degree for that. If you were to get a master's of marketing, that's fine. That's great. But you're only going to study marketing. If you get an MBA, you're learning more about how to run a business in general. You're going to study management and leadership and human resources and all kinds of different things related to running a business. So that's what an MBA is really for. It's for someone who wants to run a business or be some type of senior manager at a business, at a big company. Okay, so that's what an MBA is. So just so we're clear on that, and the next question is, what is STEM? The title of this session tonight is MBA versus STEM. So we need to make sure everyone knows what STEM is. I'm sure many of you have heard of this. Some of you probably know what it is. Some of you maybe have heard of it, not exactly sure. It's very, very simple. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, math. So that's quite simple. So basically a STEM degree is any degree that falls under one of these categories: science, technology, engineering, math. So it could be biology, it could be engineering, it could be physics, it could be math, it could be many, many different things. But STEM degrees are things that are in those areas. One thing that's very important to understand, the universities themselves don't decide whether a program is a STEM program or not. The US Department of Homeland Security does. Okay. Now, whether or not a degree is a STEM degree is very, very important, especially for international students, which I'll explain in just a moment. But it's very important that you understand a STEM degree is not determined by the university, and that makes it a little bit confusing because it means sometimes you can't tell by the name of a program if it's a STEM program or not. So for example, now if it's engineering, if it's civil, well, here, I've got some examples on here. So computer science, civil engineering, physics, statistics, data science, biology, chemistry, these programs, and it doesn't matter if it's undergraduate or master's, are pretty much always considered STEM programs. But I said before, some universities have Masters of Finance. Masters of Finance, you don't know If I tell you that a certain university has a Master of Finance program, you don't know if it's a STEM program or not. It depends on the courses that are studied during that Master of Finance program. And that's not up to the university. That is up to the, oops, sorry. I was clicking on the chat to see what that was. It's not up to the university. It's up to the Department of Homeland Security. So you don't know just by looking at the name of a degree sometimes if it's STEM or not. So why is STEM important? There are some very, very important reasons why you would want to study a STEM degree. Number one, STEM jobs are often highest in demand. If you graduate from a STEM field like engineering or statistics or math or something like that, typically the employment rates are very, very high. It's easier to find a job after you graduate. Second, they're often the best paid. If you have a STEM degree, it's usually easier to find a job and you get paid more. So they're very well paid and employment rates are quite high. Now, for international students, very, very important, and this is one of the main things I want to talk about tonight. International students get a STEM OPT extension, which makes it much easier to find a job in the US. Does anybody on this call know what OPT means? Has anyone heard of OPT? Does anyone know what OPT means? I'm going to guess some of you have. OPT stands for Optional Practical Training. This is a US government policy that says when students, international students, come to the US to study, after you graduate, you are allowed to stay and work full-time. So you can stay and work full-time, get paid in the US. For any major, you can stay for 1 year. So if you come to the US and you study psychology, after you graduate, you can stay and work full-time in the US for 1 year. If it is all majors, 1 year, full-time, paid work in the US. You can go anywhere in the US. Doesn't matter where you studied. You can move to a different state. You can move to a different place. You just need to find a job. You can work 1 year full-time, paid after you graduate. If it is a STEM major, you can stay and work for 3 years full-time, paid work in the US. You get an extra 2 years. You get a STEM OPT extension. So this is what I was saying before. It's very, very, very big benefit for international students if you study a STEM degree, because you can stay and work 3 years full-time. And when I say it's a big benefit, 1 year is very, very great. If you can stay and work full-time, get paid in the US, of course, that's great. However, you have to think about it from the company side. If you think about it from the student side, you came to the US, you studied for maybe 2 years, you got your master's degree, you work 1 year, full-time paid work experience. You've earned some money, you have work experience. Now, if you go back to Indonesia, hopefully it's going to be quite a bit easier to find a job because now you have work experience. However, if you think about it from the company's side, that's not great for them. They don't want to hire someone who's only going to work for them for 1 year. If they have 2 students who are applying for a job and one of them can work for 3 years and one of them can only work for 1 year, and after that 1 year, the company has to pay a lot of money and do a lot of paperwork to get that person a work visa, that's a very, very big headache for the company. They would much rather have someone who could stay for 3 years than only 1 year. So if you've studied a STEM major, it will be much easier for you to find a job in the US after you graduate because you can stay for 3 years. Oh, and by the way, sorry, one thing I didn't mention. When I say you can stay and work for 3 years or 1 year, OPT, that means you don't have to change your visa. So when you graduate and you're staying and working, you are staying on your student visa. You don't have to change anything. So you can stay for 1 year or 3 years, depending on your major and if it's a STEM program, and work full-time on your student visa. After that, so after your 1 year or after your 3 years, then you need to change your visa to a work visa. So for that first year or for the first 3 years, it's very, very easy to stay and find a job and work in the US because you don't have to change your visa. So that is a huge advantage of studying STEM programs in the US versus not STEM programs. And I see that there's a question. I'll answer that in just a moment. So I hope this is clear. So MBA is not the only business option, but STEM is very, very important. So more and more international students know about this, know about the 3 years OPT, paid work in the US. So more and more international students are looking for STEM degrees these days. When I first started doing this many, many years ago, people had no idea what OPT was. They didn't care if it was a STEM degree, but now many more international students know about this. So they're looking for STEM degrees so they can stay and work longer in the US after they graduate. Sorry, I was just checking the chat to see what it is. So we know what STEM is. We know what MBA is. So now what I want to talk to you, when I said that the name of this session was a little bit of a trick, it's because there are sometimes business degrees that are STEM degrees. So it doesn't mean that you have to choose business or STEM. You don't always have to choose MBA or STEM. For example, this is Fisher College. This is a university that I work with. Fisher College has an MBA program, which is a STEM degree. So you come study your MBA. It is a STEM degree. After you graduate, you can stay and work for 3 years. So most of the time, as I said before, most universities, their MBA or their business master's programs or undergraduate are not STEM programs. But there are some universities that do have STEM business degrees. It is all determined by what you study in the degree. So I can show you that and explain that in just a moment. So first, I'll just introduce the university a little bit so you know what I'm talking about. First thing to say, this university is called Fisher College. Okay, that's very common in the US. In the US, we don't really care if it's called university or college. It means the same thing. Now, that's very, very different in the UK and some other places. They're very, very particular about university and college. They mean very different things. They have different degrees. In the US, there are a lot of universities that are called college. When they were started, they were called college for whatever reason. They've never changed. It's fine. So like Fisher College, it is a university. They have undergraduate degrees, they have master's degrees. So even though it's called Fisher College, it is a university. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the university, then I'm going to talk about their MBA programs. Fisher College is a very small university, so it's right in the center of Boston. And as I'm saying this, I'm realizing I don't think I have a US map on this. I forgot to put the US map in there. There's a map of Boston coming up in just a moment, but there's no map of the US in there. Boston is in the northeast. So you probably know New York is up in that area. So it's in the northeast of the US. So it is up in the north. Boston is a very big city. It's one of the biggest cities in the US. The university is quite old, as you can see. It was founded in 1903. It's very, very small. Less than 2,000 students in the entire university. So that means classes are very, very small. Average class size is 18. Student-teacher ratio is 17:1. That is very, very low. That is very, very good. It means you have a lot of time with your professors, a lot of time with your teachers, and very small classes. You'll know your classmates very, very well at the university because it is quite small. Sorry, I just want to see. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. I was trying to click on, oh no, it's all gone wrong. Just trying to see what the other question is. Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading the questions. I will go back to answer those questions shortly. This is a short video. Let me just mute it because it's kind of loud. This is just going to show you, as I said, the campus is right in the middle of Boston. So this is right in the heart of the city. I'll show you a map in just a second. So there you can see Boston. I mean, this is the university right in the center of the city. It's right in the middle of the financial district. So you can see right there, Fisher College. Fisher offers a lot of different degrees. There's business programs, there's computer science, there's all kinds of different things, other sciences. 20% international in the US is very, very high. Most US universities are less than 10% international. Most of them are less than 5% international. So 20% international is extremely high. So Fisher only has about 1,600 students, but there's about 300 international students on campus. So that's quite a lot for the US. So again, sorry, I completely forgot to put a US map in here. That's my fault. I don't know why I forgot that. I usually have the map in there, but I forgot to put the US map in there. So sorry. Again, we are in the Northeast, but here you can see Boston. Many of you probably have never been to Boston. Maybe none of you have been to Boston. But what I can tell you is if you look at this map and you see Boston Public Gardens, Boston Common, that is the center of the city. This is the financial district right in the heart of the city, just like Times Square in New York. So Fisher College is right in the center of the city. It is a fantastic location for finding work opportunities, internships, things like that. It is a really, really good location to be studying because you're right in the heart of the city. On the left side of the map, you can see MIT, Harvard and MIT are both in Boston. So they're very close by as well. There's a lot of very good, very big universities, very famous universities in and around Boston. So you're right there in the center of the city. This is undergraduate, just to give you an idea. Like I said, there's lots of different things, all kinds of different areas. Business, some sciences like biology and things like that, cybersecurity, software engineering. So there's sciences, there's also fashion merchandising, entrepreneurship, accounting, management, psychology, so all kinds of different degrees. But I know we're here to talk about the master's. So that's what I want to talk to you about. So this is Fisher College graduate program, MBA. The MBA, there are several different choices. So number one, there is the general MBA, which any student can do. Number two, there is a STEM degree. So the difference is the STEM degree will have a little bit more math, a little bit more analysis, some business analytics courses, some things like that. So you can choose the STEM degree. Number three, cybersecurity management, which is also a STEM degree. Or number four, healthcare management. So remember what I said before, no matter which option you choose, your degree is still going to be business administration. You're still getting an MBA, but you can choose the concentration that you're most interested in. Could be just a general MBA, could be the STEM degree, or could be cybersecurity management or healthcare management. So number two and number three are both STEM degrees and would allow you to stay and work for 3 years after you graduate. Okay. Below that, you can see the start dates. There are 2 start dates every year. One is in September, one is in January. In the US, education system is very, very flexible. It does not matter when you start. To be perfectly honest, more students probably start in September. That's just because most US students graduate in May and June. So September just makes more sense. But in terms of classes, it really doesn't matter if you start in September or January. It's all the same. Either way, if you start in September or January, the MBA at Fisher College is only a 10-month program. It is a 1-year MBA. So that is quite rare in the US. Usually master's degrees in the US are at least 1.5 years. A lot of them are 2 years. So this is a 10-month or a 1 year, because that's 2 semesters. This is a 1-year MBA program. And remember, there's 2 STEM options. So you can go to the US, you can study for 1 year, get your MBA, and you're allowed to stay and work for 3 years after you graduate. So that's a fantastic return on your investment. You invest in 1 year of school, and you can stay and work for 3 years after you graduate. I don't know if you noticed, but in the video that I just showed you, it had the employment rate for Fisher, which is about 96% of the students are able to find a job within 6 months of graduating. So very, very good employment rate. Again, part of that is because of the location. You're right in the center of Boston. Boston's a very big city. There's all kinds of companies, work opportunities right there in the city. Entry requirements. What do you need to be able to get in? So we need a bachelor's degree with a minimum GPA of 2.7. Then we need an English test of some kind. It could be TOEFL. It could be IELTS. Oh, sorry. And TOEFL is 80. IELTS is 6.5. We also accept Duolingo 115 or Pearson Test of English 56. We need your resume. We also need a personal statement, and we need 2 references. What we do not need is work experience. So you don't have to have work experience. And we also do not require GMAT. So many of you may have heard of GMAT, G-M-A-T. That is a test that some, maybe I was going to say most, I don't know if it's most, but many business programs in the US require you to take the GMAT before you can get into the program, before you can apply. Fisher, excuse me, Fisher does not require the GMAT. So no work experience, no GMAT required. And then the last slide, and I'll go back and answer these questions now after this slide, just again, give you more information. Like I said, 10 months, Central Boston, no GMAT, no work experience. Previously, I said that the class size, average class size is 18. That's actually just for the university as a whole, but for the MBA, the classes are usually going to be only 10 to 15 students. So they're quite small. And as I mentioned, OPT up to 3 years after studying for only 10 months. So very, very good. All right, let me see what these questions are so I can go through some of these questions. Okay, first question. Is this a scholarship institution or what? We do have some scholarships, but to be honest, they are fairly small. So we do have some scholarships, maybe 1,000, 2,000, something like that. So we don't have really, really large scholarships, but we do have some available. Second question, if I have work experience in my country in STEM and want to continue my education in STEM master's, am I possible to get more chance and point for HR? Thanks a lot. Not 100% sure I understand the question, but let me say this, and hopefully this will answer your question. If I haven't answered it, please let me know if this isn't clear. One thing that I didn't mention here for the entry requirements is that there's no specific background. So for business degrees in the US, it's usually very flexible. So when you say you have work experience and you want to continue your education in STEM, if you're looking for a business degree and you studied STEM undergraduate, like if you studied science or engineering, that's okay. So if that's what you mean, that's absolutely fine. So you can do a business degree. If you are looking for a different degree that's not MBA, that's some sort of STEM degree, there are other options. I'd be happy to talk to you about that. So we can talk about that later, but I'm not 100% sure I understand your question. So hopefully that answers it. If not, please let me know if that didn't answer it. And then the third question, reference from whom? This is a very good question. So yes, I said you need 2 letters of reference. I can tell you who the reference cannot be. The reference cannot be a family member or something like that. They don't want a letter from your mother telling them how wonderful they are. Everyone's mother loves them. Everyone's mother thinks their son or daughter is fantastic. That doesn't really help when you're applying to a university. So cannot be a family member. What it should be is what we call a professional reference. So either a previous professor, so you're applying for a graduate program, a master's program, which means you studied at a university before. So it could be one of your previous professors, one of your previous teachers. If you have any kind of work or volunteer experience, it could be from someone you work with or your manager, or if you volunteered somewhere, someone who was working at the place where you volunteered. So it needs to be some kind of professional reference who either worked with you, volunteered with you, or has some kind of professional experience with you. So not, like I said, not a family member or something like that. So I hope those answered those 3 questions. For the one question that I wasn't exactly sure, okay, questions about prices, that's fine. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. So don't worry, I will come back to that. But let me finish. I have a couple more slides just to show you about the university. Accreditation is very important. You do need to make sure if you're going overseas, whether it's the US or Australia or wherever, that it is an accredited school. So you have to make sure that it is an accredited university. Fisher, of course, is accredited, has quite a few different accreditations. Accommodation. In the US, if you are a graduate student, you do not need to live on campus in a dormitory. Many times you can. So at Fisher, we do have dormitories. So if you want to live in a dormitory on campus, you can, but you don't have to. It is up to you. It is your choice. But we do have dormitories available if you want, or you can find your own accommodation. Up to you, your choice. One thing to note, though, if you do live in a dormitory in the US, that probably means you're going to share a room. Single rooms are quite rare in the US. So typically you will share a room with another student. Maybe an international student, maybe a US student, just depends on who you get paired with. There are dining halls on campus. So if you're living on campus, you have to have a meal plan, which means you will you'll eat on campus. You have money on your student ID to eat on campus. There's all kinds of different food. There's halal food. There's vegetarian food. There's all kinds of different stuff on campus, but there is a dining hall on campus 7 days a week. And then, of course, as you saw, Fisher College is in the middle of downtown Boston. There are thousands of restaurants in downtown Boston. There are 30 restaurants that you could walk to within 10 minutes of the university to get all kinds of different food. So there are plenty of food options around because you're right in the middle of one of the biggest cities in the US. Sports, there's all kinds of activities and sports and things to do. So basketball, baseball, soccer, all kinds of different sports. These are the university teams, but there's other activities and things as well for you to do. There's a gym on campus for you to exercise. So there's all kinds of things. And then here's some of the clubs and organizations, multicultural club, cheerleading club, cybersecurity club, all kinds of different options. You can also start your own club. If you wanted to start an Indonesian student association, you could do that. But all kinds of different clubs and things to get involved in. Sorry, I'm going back to read the question now. I had work experience from STEM in my country. I can work in STEM degree too. I'm able to get one. Okay, so Neto, I think I understand your question. So in order to get into the university, your work experience for Fisher, to be honest, it's not going to make a huge difference unless the only way it would make a huge difference getting into Fisher is if your GPA is not so great and you do have work experience. That can definitely help. But we don't require work experience, so it doesn't really help you unless, like I said, your GPA is not great getting into Fisher. Now, of course, when you graduate in the US, like if you came to Fisher and you got your MBA, when you graduate to find a job in the US, if you already have some previous work experience from Indonesia or wherever, yes, of course, that will help you find a job later. Any experience you have volunteer experience, you have work experience, all of that stuff, that will help you find a job in the future. So yes, it can definitely help you. All right, and then somebody's asking about the price. Let me switch out of here so I can show you the price. Give me 1 second. Should have had this open before we started, but I did not prepare, so I apologize, but I'll find it and show it to you in just 1 second. So here it is. Let me share my screen again. So here, let me just make this bigger so you can see it. Excuse me. So here you can see for the MBA program, now this is for the full program. Remember, it's only 1 year. For downtown Boston, this is extremely affordable. So for the MBA, if it's non-STEM, it's $34,000. If it's STEM, it's $36,000. It's a little bit more for STEM because of some of the labs and things that you need to do. So there's a small difference if it's STEM or not, but it's $36,000 for the tuition for the year for the MBA program. $36,000 in downtown Boston is extremely low tuition fee for the US. Most MBA fees, just the tuition, are $50,000 or $60,000 or more. And oftentimes that's per year, and MBA programs are often 2 years. So $36,000 for the entire program. I know that probably seems expensive, but trust me, and you're welcome to look at other universities, that is extremely low for the US, especially because it's only 1 year. Okay, so those are the fees. And then on here, you can see it does have dormitory fees on here, but that's up to you. You don't have to live in a dormitory. You don't have to live on campus, but just in case you wanted to, this gives you the fees. It's about $19,000. But please note, when that says half board, that means meals. So this is your residence hall, and it's also including a meal plan. So half board means about 12 meals per week included in that price. So it also includes a lot of your meals as well. Looks like there might be another question. Let me see what that is. Oh no, was that you, Cynthia? I think that was you. So that's that's my presentation. So like I said, the name is a little bit misleading, MBA versus STEM or STEM versus MBA, because it's not always the case that those are two separate things. There are STEM business degrees, just like the MBA program at Fisher. It is an MBA program, but there is a STEM option, which allows you to stay and work for 3 years after you graduate. So wherever you go, I do highly recommend, if it's in the US, that you do look for a STEM program, whether it's business or something else, because that does give you the 3 years that you can stay and work afterward. But there are STEM business programs somewhere. It is difficult to tell sometimes if you're looking at a university website. They might not tell you if it's STEM or not, so you can't tell by the name. So like I said, for example, most MBAs are not STEM. So if you go to a different university and you see an MBA program, you won't know unless they write on there, this is a STEM MBA program. You have no way of knowing if it's a STEM program or not, unless you talk to someone from the university or unless they happen to put it on their website. But there are STEM MBA programs and there are other STEM business graduate programs, just like we have at Fisher. So I just talked a lot. I know that was a lot of information. I hope I didn't confuse you. I hope that was helpful for you. Does anyone else have any other questions? Is there anything else you would like to know? Anything I didn't cover?
Okay, thank you, Tyler,
Sure.
for the valuable sharing. While waiting for the questions, do you have any other questions, everyone? You can put it in the chat box. Well, probably I would just want to know, just now that you said that the student has been accepted for work after 6 months after graduation, if not mistaken.
Yeah, the employment rate for Fisher is about 96%. Yes.
96%. Do you know where they being hired to mostly?
Oh, I mean, all kinds of places. I don't know. I think I don't have that list in this presentation. Unfortunately, I should have put that in there, but I'll keep talking. I'll see if I can find it, but I'm not sure if I can find it right now, but
No worries, no worries. And well, according to like MBA or STEM, which one do you think is the most prospect career for future in USA especially?
well, for sure. I mean, I definitely recommend that students, if you can, look for an MBA or sorry, a STEM program. There are STEM MBAs, just like Fisher has. Sometimes, as I mentioned, some other places, if you are interested in business, you might be able to find Master of Finance and things like that. Sometimes they are STEM, but sometimes they're not. But no, I would definitely recommend for international students trying to find a STEM degree, because you get that 3 years that you can stay and work. Also, a lot of the reason why something would be a STEM degree, just like you could see with Fisher, like one of the options is cybersecurity. So having that STEM experience when you're studying like cybersecurity, cybersecurity is a very, very important thing right now. So if you've studied cybersecurity, that means number one, you studied something a lot of companies want when they're hiring people. Number two, now it's a STEM degree, so you can stay and work for 3 years. So it helps you 2 different ways, because you've studied something that's very useful and you can stay longer and work after you graduate. So it helps you in 2 different ways. So yes, I would definitely recommend trying to find a STEM degree. The good news is more and more universities are coming out with STEM business degrees, but you still, like I said, you have to check with the university. You can't tell from the name of the program if it is STEM or not. Some are, some are not. So you do have to find out, because you don't want to arrive and study and then find out you can only stay and work for 1 year.
Yes, correct. Thank you for the information, anyway.
Sure.
Any questions? Any
Yeah,
other questions?
Yeah, no, I was going to say the same thing. Any other questions? Anything else would like to know? Well, there's a lot of people here. No more questions?
Yeah, I think.
And by the way, the questions, they don't have to be exactly about what we talked about. If you have questions about working part-time while you're studying, or about the visa. It could be about anything. It doesn't have to be just what we talked about tonight. So if you have any questions about anything about the US,
Yeah, related to US.
anything about the US, anything about studying, anything about working, entry requirements.
Is there many Indonesian students in Boston?
Oh, in the city, yeah. I mean, Boston's Boston's a really, really big city. Within 30 minutes of Boston, in a big circle around there, there is over 60 colleges and universities, 60. So there is a huge amount of colleges and universities in that area. I have no idea total what the Indonesian population is in that area, but yes, there are hundreds, probably a couple thousand at least, Indonesian just students there. And then of course there's Indonesians who graduated and are living there and have moved there and working there as well. So I'm sure there's a big Indonesian population, but I have no idea what it is in that area. But yeah, Boston is massive city with lots of international students and people living and working there.
Okay, cool. So it's one of the popular city for Indonesian students, I guess.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's no more questions from the participants. Probably we can end the webinar for today. Well, before we end it, I would like to say thank you to you, Tyler, for your time and for your valuable sharings. Hopefully the participants will get a lot of information from your presentation. And for those who would like to consult more about King's Education, we are official partner with King's Education. So you can approach our social media and they will in contact with you with the counselors from ACC. So thank you so much for your time and hope we can see you next time in the next webinar. Have a nice day.
Yep. Thank you everyone for attending. I appreciate it. I hope that was helpful, and thank you very much. Good luck to you and good night.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
An exciting journey in the United States, where you'll uncover stories of dreams and endless possibilities. The country is a beacon of academic excellence and houses 8 of the top 10 universities globally. In the USA, diversity isn't just a buzzword, it's a way of life. This offers students an invaluable opportunity to engage, learn, and thrive in a multicultural environment. Beyond academics, the USA opens doors to a world of opportunities, with graduates often finding their place in Fortune 500 companies. We know the decision to study abroad is a mix of excitement and apprehension. That's where AECC steps in. We're your compass, guiding you through every step of your journey. From course selection, university application, visa processing, to pre-departure briefings, our end-to-end services are completely free. Ready to chase your American dream? Connect with AECC today, and let's turn your dream into a reality. Fill out the contact form to get started. Embark on an exciting journey in the United States, where you'll uncover stories of dreams and endless possibilities. The country is a beacon of academic excellence and houses 8 of